smile that makes the sun rise. You make it shine, but I can see that you don't realize, and that's what made me fall in love. 'Cause you got style, the way your body makes my heart beat sound. It's amazing all the time. You are the only thing I need in life. Oh, I want you. Can't you see? I want you. I believe, 'cause I want you. Here with me, I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna go crazy for love. I look at you and know it's alright. You read my mind, but I can see that you don't realize, and that's what made me fall in love. 'Cause you got style, the way your body makes my heart beat sound. It's amazing all the time. You are the only thing I need in life. Oh, I want you. Can't you see? I want you. I believe, 'cause I want you. Here with me, I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna go crazy for love. I don't need another love. Yeah. We do this every day. We do this love for life. You got a smile that makes the sun rise. You make it shine, but I can see that you don't realize, and that's what made me fall in love. 'Cause you got style, the way your body makes my heart beat sound. It's amazing all the time. You are the only thing I need in life. Oh, I want you. Can't you see? I want you. I believe, 'cause I want you. Here with me, I'm gonna go crazy. I'm gonna go crazy for love.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Clubhouse Chaotic Chat. It is 6 o'clock on the East Coast. It's 3 o'clock for our guests, and it's always 5 o'clock somewhere. Thanks for joining us tonight. We have a small crew with us today. We got our Stephanie Kiel, who's coming to us from the West Coast of Maryland. You've got Tina with us, who's coming from the West Coast of New York. We want to say wishes to Sammy D, who's doing some family things, got some family stuff going on. Our thoughts and prayers are with her and her family. And Angela's also spending some time with family tonight. So we got a small little crew. We want to thank everyone for coming in tonight. Don't forget, take a moment, make sure you like, subscribe, comment on the video, make sure you're following all the socials so you don't miss anything going on here with the Triple C show. Let's bring in the ladies. There we go. There's our lovelies tonight, Tina and Steph. Tina, how you doing today?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for joining us in our small little group.
Here.
Just the three of
It's
us.
intimate. Yeah.
Did you have a good day?
I did, yes. We were busy cleaning house and selling stuff like furniture and whatnot. So, yeah, we had a busy day.
That's
But I was going to say, the two of y'all and me, we might be a small group, but we have some great personalities, and we are going to have a great time tonight, aren't we?
You ain't kidding. That's for sure. We want to say hello. We know he's watching out there. Hello, Mr. McDevitt. Hope we make you proud tonight. We have our guest backstage, but of course, before we get to that, we want to welcome in our chat. So let's go ahead and get that going. I'm going to do my best to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Yep, and there he is, always watching. Yep, we know that, always watching. We want to say hello to Vicky Gillespie, Stephanie Kiel. Hi, Steph. Italian, Pete McDevitt. Hello. Spaceship Ears, guest of honor. Hello. KK, JC Skipper Brian, Jason Thibodeau, Debbie Bernfeld, Zippity Doo Dug, Movie Mania Nick, Chris S., Alyssa and Neil, Cakes 2112, Mandy Mary, Phil Collins, Mayor of Chickapin Hill, Allison A., Jeff Condon, Stitch Lover Shelby, Sarah P. Adventures, AB, Jeffrey, Ryan Rowe, Surfer Girl Cherie, Anne, Marin Memphis, Laura Jam. I think did I get everyone? If I missed you, I'm sorry. I'm doing double duty tonight. So just go ahead and put it back. Say, hey, Jen, you missed me. And I'll catch you on the next round. Molly, I love how you say my name. KK, isn't that it? KK? Is that right?
It's just your accent, you know.
It's my the western coast of Ohio accent that I'm bringing out tonight.
The coast. Western coast.
I see Gloria Thibodeau. Hi, Gloria. So again, if I missed you, just say, hey, you missed me, and I'll catch you on the next round. We don't forget any of our chat. We want to make sure everybody gets a hello. Oh, Christian Sanchez. Hello. Stream Elements. Hey, how you doing, Stream Elements? Okay, so let's, without further ado, I have a feeling this interview is going to be jam-packed with information, so let's get this moving. Steph, before we do that, why don't you give us a quick recap of last week's show?
I can do that. All right, so here are some highlights from our last show. Our show last week gave us a great look at our community friend, Greg Papalukas, and diving into his passions, his favorite Disney moments, and even some of his non-Disney lifestyles. We had a fantastic conversation with him, and we were so glad to have had the chance to interview him and talk with him. So our second highlight is that we had the pleasure of hearing about his most special memories and taking a detailed look into all of his Disney favorites, both in the parks and beyond. And it's been a fantastic journey through all the magic and what means so much to him, he said. So that's awesome. We heard about Greg's all-time favorite drink. That was the peanut butter and jelly milkshake, which I thought sounded cool. Molly was totally ill. And Tina, I don't remember your response, but were you?
It was intriguing.
Intriguing. Okay, that's good. And his special role in his family, including his spouse and his father, and how they play roles in his journey. It's been a great honor for all of us to sit here and get to know him better, and we truly appreciate him sharing his stories and memories, the insights he shared, and we hope to see him more often in our chat. So I bet you he'll even drop in tonight. Mods, if you don't mind dropping the links in from our last show, that would be fabulous. And I'm going to throw it over to Tina.
Well, I have the amazing task today of welcoming in, introducing this week's guest. We'll welcome him in a little bit later. But tonight we're excited to welcome another very special member of our community as our guest. As we return to our West Coast, the actual West Coast friends, John is a senior software engineer with 20 years experience in the tech industry. He's a proud father to 2 children, and his daughter is pursuing a fine arts degree. Our guest has had the magic of Disney behind the scenes of their life since birth. Their unique experiences and connection to Disney are sure to make for an incredible conversation. He's walked the sets of major motion pictures, shaken hands with Disney legends, and followed in the footsteps of creative geniuses like his father and grandfather, all while carrying a deep love for Disney magic. In our Disney community, he fills the chat with smiles, his warm presence, and a unique brand of laughter that makes every conversation even more magical. Joining us in just a few minutes. Well, wait a minute. Hold on. I skipped one. We've had the pleasure of How could I forget this one? We've had the pleasure of interviewing his dad. But this week, it's his turn in the spotlight. So joining us in just a few minutes, we welcome in John, Spaceship Ears, to the Triple C Show for a magical conversation you're bound to enjoy. And Jen, do we have any new viewers before I toss it over to you for the next segment?
Yes, we do have a few new viewers. I think I've got all of you. I've got Dean the Turkey Leg Stir. Hello, Dean. Anthony Casola. I hope I said that right. Thanks for joining us. Welcome in. We've got Dave Stragand. We've got Kay Wilby. We've got Rob, a.k.a. UK Dizdad. And then now I also see Jonathan Chong has come in. We are being invaded from Canada. Hello, Jonathan Chong. And there's Regina Erie. We're going to get her in just under the line here. Regina Erie, hello. Pete's waving from the hub. Okay. Guess he's still watching.
Do you think he remembered
we'll still
his
be under our
glove?
best behavior. If he's watching, we're still going to, stick to script, ladies, as long as he's watching.
Oh, yes.
All right. I think I got you all. Again, if I miss you, just, yell at me and I'll get you. But before we get to our awesome guest, we've got to do our fun questions. That's always a great part of this show. We only got the two of you tonight, so this is going to be good. Let's start with Steph.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Ready, Steph?
I guess.
Okay. Steph, what's the worst thing you could use in place of toilet paper?
Well, so I could just say poison ivy, right? Because that would be pretty bad. But
That would be pretty bad.
I tried to get a little bit more creative. So here's what the worst thing would be. Fly paper.
Oh.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
You could get a Brazilian at the same time. You could just.
Yeah. That would be it's a red wrap.
Yeah, that would be the worst. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking like fly paper or like the sticky sided duct tape.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Any sort of like adhesive. You're right. That is not as bad as poison ivy, but
I don't know.
That's awesome. A great answer.
Yeah, thanks.
That is.
My warped mind came up with something
terrible.
Great.
It's just horrible to think about. Okay. Tina, your turn.
Oh boy.
Tina, why do all superheroes wear their underpants on the outside of their super suit? I can't even say that. Why do superheroes wear their underpants on the outside of their super suit? There we go.
Okay, so I have a theory. I think it has to do with some kind of male dominance type thing, like highlight the package and enhance the role of superhero at the same time, like hero in the streets and in the sheets, maybe. I don't know. Just a theory.
I like that. That's a great theory.
As long as the superhero is a superhero.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's not a superhero, maybe they want to keep their underpants on the inside of their suit, if you know what I'm saying.
True.
Or
do you think it's bulletproof?
Over it.
Instead of a bulletproof vest, he has to protect the family jewels, so he's got bulletproof underwear on.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Pete McDevitt says, what is that answer? How is the word package even in the answer? Debbie Bernfeld says, enhance their package. That comes from Mama D.
Just saying.
Movie Mania Nick wants to know if that was in the script. So. It's really never in the script, Nick. It's never in the script.
That's Tina original.
All right, it's time. We need to welcome in our guest. So without further ado, there's John, Spaceship Ears. Let's get us all situated here. There we go. There's our guest. Hello, John.
Hello. How are you guys doing?
We're awesome.
I think we're doing better now that we're so glad you're here. We know this is going to be an awesome interview. We know you always have so many interesting things to say. There's always something new to learn about you. So I have a feeling this is going to be a really great interview.
Well, I feel the
So-
same about everybody on Scream too. So
Oh, well, thank you very much.
that's okay.
We want to get this moving, though. We want to
for
give.
another 45 minutes, and then I'll do it. No.
I was going to say we want to make sure we have enough time to get in all of your great answers. So let's get started with Steph. Why don't you start us off?
Okay, so John, could you please share with us a short introduction about yourself so our viewers tonight can get to know you a little bit better?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. Really appreciate it. First and foremost, thank you to Pete. Hi, Pete. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, so like everybody knows, my name is on the chat, Spaceship Earth, but my real name is John D. Cure, just like my father and my grandfather as well. And one of the reasons I use that name, Spaceship Ears, is because my father designed Spaceship Earth, and we'll talk a lot more about that as the show goes on, I'm sure. But you know, when I was growing up, when someone said John, there were 3 heads that were turning, and I wanted nothing of that when with my kids. So I generally try to use my actual username when I'm chatting with Disney friends and so forth. But I'm perfectly happy with people calling me John. But yeah, we'll talk many more stories about that as the
Very
show goes
good.
on.
Well, thank you. We all have a story on how we arrived at our Disney YouTube community. Can you share with us your journey?
Absolutely. So, like many people, the pandemic hit. You know, the year 2020 hit many people in many different ways, myself very much amongst everybody else. And one thing I found was people streaming the Disney parks online. You know, I found LBTV, I found Resort TV One, and I realized, oh my gosh, I can actually experience these experiences just like everybody else virtually from my home. And it was such an uplifting experience to be able to do that. But more importantly, what I found was that the community behind it was even more important than the streamers behind the gimbal. People really enjoyed talking to each other and understanding these shared experiences. And it was very much like going to a theme park with a bunch of friends. And I just immediately, you know, snapped to that. I thought that was amazing. And I really do think that Walt, if he were alive today, he really would love what every one of you is doing with this technology, because you're able to share these shared experiences and, more importantly, make new friends as a part of it. So in some ways, obviously, the pandemic was horrible. But for me personally, it brought me many, many new friends, people on the screen, and many people on chat as well. So that's how I eventually got into the community. And I'm loving every minute of it.
Sweet. That's awesome. I never really thought about something you said there. That was interesting about how it touched all of us on a global level, really. And we all made new friends and people from all over the world that we would never know. Like I would never know you if that hadn't happened. So something really good came out of something really bad. So that was cool.
Absolutely. And a lot of these experiences are not meant to be experienced alone. You know, when we go to these theme parks, we go with our family and friends. So any technology that can help accentuate that, I think is phenomenal. And, you know, the more that we can embrace that is just great. I'm
Yeah,
very
I hope Walt would have
and happy
liked
for
that.
everybody who streams.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, I'm going to throw the reins over to Miss Tina. She's going to ask you a few questions.
I am indeed. All right. So my first question is kind of like a 2-part question, sort of. Having experienced Disney parks in California, Florida, Paris, and Tokyo, how have these visits shaped your overall vision of what makes a Disney park truly magical? And are there any elements from each that you wish could be combined into the ultimate Disney experience?
Oh, that's a fantastic question. And it touches on so many interesting aspects. Each park is unique. If you've had a chance to go to multiple parks, I've been very blessed and lucky because, you know, I grew up in LA. I spent lots of time at Disneyland. Obviously, I spent quite a fair time in Disney World as well. I was lucky to go to Tokyo Disneyland as well. Obviously, all of these different parks have different aspects to them, but they all have a lot in common too. You know, each major park, you know, you have a park where you walk up Main Street, and that's very intentional. Walt designed some of these parks to be a very cinematic experience, as you probably know. When you enter Disneyland or enter the Magic Kingdom, you don't see the whole park right away. You just see little glimpses as you approach it. And as you walk under that train rail, It's very much like entering a movie theater. You look left and right, you see posters. Hey, these are the coming attractions. These are the things you're going to see. And as you walk up Main Street, you eventually, like the curtain parting on a theater, you eventually get to see the whole thing. A lot of that is core to the fundamental experience, and you get to see a lot of that duplicated in multiple parks. But what I love about it is that each park is unique. Each park has its own specific flavor to it that you don't often see in other parks as well. And that's one reason why I love, visiting these different parks and talking about the differences with other people.
That's awesome. So, having experienced both the historical roots of Disneyland in California and the grand creative scale of Walt Disney World in Florida, how do you see the key differences between the two? And from your perspective, how does each park's history and design shape the way you experience the magic?
Yeah, so like everybody knows, I assume everybody knows the story when Walt created Disneyland. It was very much kind of an experiment, He found, a bunch of real estate in Orange County and decided to try it out. Many people know that he regretted the fact that he initially didn't get enough land to really, he had so many amazing ideas in his head that he didn't have the real estate to try them out. So that's one reason why he did what he did in Florida. Many people know the story about him setting up various shell companies and essentially creating fictional entities so that no one knew, oh, Walt Disney's trying to get all the real estate. Let's hike up the prices. So he was brilliant in that sense. But what's interesting about Disney World is that, like Walt says, he has a blessing of land, and he's able to try out all of these new experiences and new ideas and new visions. So that's one reason I love visiting Disney World, because you get to see some of these experiments brought out. Epcot, of course, not. We shouldn't discount Epcot, but the fact that Magic Kingdom is there too. Magic Kingdom has a lot of aspects to it that you don't often see in Disneyland, and vice versa. So you get to see some of these slight differences, but what's great about it is that each experience gets to accentuate what's unique about them. So I don't know if that makes sense. We can talk more about theme park design later if you'd like.
Yeah.
I like that. All right. So before I toss it over to Steph for her next set of questions, I want to ask Jen if we have any new viewers that came in.
Yeah, we had a few friends come in. Want to say hello to Tim Rempel. Hi, Tim. Dave's Disney Dreams. Hi, Triple D. Good to see you. And Bloomin' Cheesa. Hi, Richard. Thanks for joining us tonight. And Simba too. Hi, Matt.
Hey, Matt.
So yeah, I think that's all we got. Like I said, if I missed you, I'm sorry. Just tag me and I'll make sure I get you on the next round. But let's get back to these questions. We got a lot to say and only so much time. So let's get back to the questions with Steph.
Okay. All right. In our previous broadcast, we explored the historical significance and entertainment legacy of your father and grandfather in depth. But now we'd love to hear it on a more personal level from you. So how has their influence shaped your life, both professionally and personally?
Oh my gosh, now the tears are going to start. Having grown up, I have been amazingly blessed to have grown up in this creative family. Not many people get a chance to grow up in a world where you have two amazing people, not to mention all the other wonderful folks in my family, but my dad and my grandfather in particular are just creative geniuses. And I don't say that lightly. My grandfather, not many people have won 3 Academy Awards and been nominated for much more than that. My father is no slouch. Obviously he designed Spaceship Earth. He worked on a number of different attractions, including Alien Encounter, Muppet Vision. We'll talk about all that later. But more personally, having grown up in that experience, one thing I realized was you can bring creative energy to anything you do. It doesn't matter what field you're in. And I'm probably the poster child for that. A lot of people ask me, including someone we'll talk about in a little bit, John, what happened? Not what happened, but why didn't you grow up and become an art designer like your father and your grandfather? And I grew up and I loved what they did, but we'll talk about that a little later. What I found was I can march off in my own path and I can learn what they have taught me when I grew up to apply to any field. And I find even in the software industry, I can take some of the aspects that they taught me when I was little about seeing a holistic picture of something, understanding what really drives people. What is the prime motivations of communication, and what are you trying to get across? All of those stories you can apply to anything you do. So that's one thing that I take to heart, is that my grandfather and father taught me that very much. No matter what I do, I can apply that to anything I do in my life.
Yeah, they're exactly right. Yeah, because everything you can learn from them, you can take into any profession. So
Yeah.
very wise folks too. All right, now I'm excited about this question. Okay, you had the opportunity of a lifetime to work for Sony alongside the inventors of both the CD compact disc and the Walkman, which I don't know if the other girls up here had Walkman, but back in the day, yeah.
Nope.
I remember taking that with me even on trips to Europe and listening to Def Leppard on my cassette tapes and tuning out my parents when they're like, Stephanie, look at this grand mountain. I'm like, yeah, whatever. Anyway, so good times. That I'm so glad you guys did that. So anyway, 2 revolutionary pieces of technology that shaped the way that the world experienced music. How did working with such visionary individuals impact your perspective on innovation and creativity?
Oh my gosh. Well, first and foremost, if we didn't have the Walkman, we wouldn't have Guardians of the Galaxy, right? So we have to be grateful for that. So again, let me double down on the lucky feeling I have in life. When I first started off in my own career, I wasn't quite sure where I was going, because it was quite different from the path that my grandfather and my father charted. I'm a geek. When I grew up, I saw an Atari home computer, and I just fell in love with it. It was like love at first sight. When I ended up charting off my career, I ended up at Sony, and I started off at Sony ImageWorks, which is their visual effects group, working on some fun technologies like bringing virtual worlds to online. At the time, what was online experiences? We were all, if anybody remembers, we all had modems at the time, and really slow internet and all that. Pick up the phone and you can get someone yelling at you from the other room. So trying to chart and create 3D immersive experiences in that technology was really difficult. But I transitioned from there to actually working on a really cool project. If any of you have heard of it, it's called Aibo. And this was actually an entertainment robot that Sony created. And this was done about the mid-90s. What was interesting about Aibo was that a lot of, you may have seen in the toy stores and whatnot, there were a lot of so-called robots. You probably have seen a lot of robot dogs and Tamagotchis and things like that. What was unique about Aibo was that he was completely what we call autonomous, which means he had his own sense of what it wanted to do. There was no one controlling it. So it had its own feelings, its own moods, and all of this stuff that was baked in at the time. And I was part of a very special team in the US that was responsible for bringing that technology to the US, and essentially a sales and marketing group. Now, what was interesting about that was that I immediately experienced some different cultural impacts. For example, in Japan, robots they're almost holy. They're part of the culture. There are stories like Astro Boy and so forth that are really imbued in the culture. US, of course, we love robots too, but we didn't quite have that. But what we found was there were a few cultural differences. For example, because it was autonomous, when the robot, it really wants to do its own thing. So someone might have bought this very expensive robot and brought it home and opened the box, and maybe you would turn it on and maybe it would go to sleep because it was tired. And it was like, just like a real puppy or a kitten, you can't really control it. So poor people in the US had to justify this very expensive purchase. It was a lot of fun. I ended up meeting one of a key Imagineer who worked at Walt Disney Imagineering. His name was Bruce Gordon. Unfortunately, he died very young, but he was an amazing guy. He was one of the guys responsible for Splash Mountain. He designed the Winnie the Pooh attraction and so forth. But he was a huge robot fan, and he actually came to some of the user meetups for these robots, and it was a lot of fun because I got to meet him. I got to have lunch with him a few times, and he was a very, very dear friend, a dear soul. Unfortunately, he passed away too young, but he's created many, many amazing Disney books and stories and things like that. So kind of getting off track with all these stories, but bringing it home. Part of that process, I got to work with Dr. Doi, who invented the compact disc, got to work with Dr. Kihara, who invented the Walkman, and amazing, amazing individuals. I'm sure if Walt were alive, he would want to just spend a long time with each of these individuals, just understanding the amazing things that they bring. But more importantly, what was great about them was that they didn't invent technology for technology's sake. They invented technology for a story and for a mission. And they could have joined any other number of manufacturers just creating a remote controlled robot, but they were interested in bringing the actual experience to life by making it autonomous. And we had many interesting challenges and things like that. Anyway, let's bring it home.
That was really cool. You couldn't show us just a little blurb of that, could you?
Let me actually show a little bit. Another fun thing we did was to encourage some universities to use the robot for their research. There was an event called RoboCup, and RoboCup is actually an academic event. And if you could see here from some of the video I have here are some of the IBOs, some of the robots that we loaned out to the university. And what's cool about this is that the universities, their goal is to create the world's best robot soccer team. So they took these robots and they figured out ways that these robots could actually interact and work with each other. Again, I want to stress, this is all autonomous. There's no one behind the scenes with a joystick. There's no one controlling these guys. They're all placed on the field and they're all programmed. So much like a nervous father or mother, these poor engineers, they put their robots on the field and they said, oh my gosh, I hope they work. But what was cool was that they were able to create different innovations. Like, for example, you notice their elbows are on the ground a little bit. They're not actually walking on the balls of their feet. These researchers found out that actually they can get more friction on the field if they actually walk on their elbows.
Oh, no way.
So there's a camera in their nose and they basically try and find the ball and kick the ball and things like that. And I want to stress something. This is 20 years old. This was done in 25. So imagine the technology that has advanced since then and what we can do with it today. I feel really lucky that I was part of that. And I think it was a great experience that really formed my future career.
Yeah, I mean, I would be amazed if I saw that now. You're like,
right?
To me.
But, 20 years ago, these researchers and amazing people, I learned a lot from them. They're amazing folks.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we're going to talk more about your incredible life experiences in just a moment. But before we do that, let's talk about your drink of the week.
Yes.
All right.
So this is not exactly the most exotic drink, but one thing I love is the Dole Whip drink that they sell, not in the parks, but actually at the Polynesian Resort. As many of you may not know this, but you can hop on the monorail. This is in Florida, by the way. You can hop on the monorail to the Polynesian, and they have a little Dole Whip stand out there that's very, very lightly occupied. So usually you can actually hop on the monorail, head to the Polynesian, and get this amazing drink, which has coconut rum and you can get other things. And it's delicious. It's wonderful. And then you can hop back on the monorail and have a great time at the park, probably in less time than you had to just wait in line at the park itself. So I really enjoy that drink. I try to get one every time I visit.
It looks good.
It looks really good.
So that is actually the Dole Whip with Parrot Bay coconut rum. Did I have that correct? I think that's what we had here. The Dole Whip with Parrot Bay coconut rum sold at the Pineapple Lanai at the Polynesian Resort.
That's right. And sometimes they'll have special holiday specials. Like if you go during Christmas. When I went during December, they had some holiday versions of it. But, you can't go wrong with the original Dole Whip with the pineapple flavor, of course, blending with the coconut rum. It's just perfect.
Mm.
Yep.
And it's blue.
I just want to give a quick thank you to Totally the Bomb website for the pictures and the descriptions of this drink that we have. Want to make sure we acknowledge that. I'm sorry, Steph, what were you going to say?
Oh, I just thought it was really pretty too. I mean, it looks like the ocean, like blue, Yep.
So,
yeah.
Have you ever tried it, Steph?
I have had I probably have actually had it. I don't remember it being blue though, last time I was there. I feel like it was yellow.
Yeah, I don't remember. That may be a holiday version. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But,
But I
it
had
tastes good, and it all makes you feel the same way.
Oh yeah. So going there to the Poly is the best place to get it, I think. So anyway, but it is.
Yeah, I've taken many friends to the Poly on a monorail hop. I said, trust me, just take a few minutes. Let's hop on the monorail, and all of them universally say, "Oh my gosh, how did I not know about this?"
Yes, totally. Yep.
How about you, Tina? Have you had it?
I have not, but I really want it, or at least want to get the ingredients to make it at home now because I need one stat into Dole Whip.
You have to be careful. Some people sell Dole Whip type beverages, and they're often not that great.
I know. I've heard.
There's nothing about the actual thing at the parks.
Yeah, the closest I've had to an actual Dole Whip was at Canopy Lake Park in New Hampshire. Oh, spot on. So good. Oh, so good. So,
awesome. Yeah, I would never miss an opportunity to have one of those. I know it costs
That's okay.
but it's worth it.
Yeah,
It's totally
you have
worth
the
it.
budget for.
It's like Disney, shut up and take my money.
Yes.
All right. Well, moving right along here in our program.
All righty.
I want to
So,
take a
Miss
minute
Jen,
to
I think ask some questions, or y'all?
Yeah, I was just going to say, moving right along in the program, I want to take a moment, though, to welcome some people in. I want to say hello to Jennifer Caruso, Steve from Ride the Teacups, Tiki Man Fan, Tim, Coasty, Anne, the Curtis family, Mark Langenkamp, Timothy Rainwaters, and Molly's mom.
Wow, that was a lot. Awesome.
Oh, and Paul Engel.
Oh,
so I want to say, make sure we also say hello to all of our friends who are watching, who are not in the chat. Those would be our Ninja Watchers. So you're just as important to us. So a great big hello to everyone not in the chat. So hello, Ninja Watchers. Thanks for being with us. You're just as important as everybody else. So we want to make sure that we say hello. And I'll say hello to Piglet True Love Sisney. So hello. Let's get into these questions. We got to keep this moving. We've got so much more yet to cover. So now, John, we're going to ask you the same questions that the ladies had. So, Steph, why don't you go ahead and kick that off?
Okay. I guess you probably heard my response backstage, but let's see what you got. All right. So what's the worst thing that you could use in place of toilet paper?
My gosh. I mean, the only thing that really comes to mind is sandpaper. And now I'm not sure what kind of graded sandpaper you'd use, but that's got to be the one that comes to mind.
Yeah, I agree.
Just when you think you've heard all the horrible things, you think of another horrible thing. Like I thought the fly paper was bad or poison ivy was bad. And then you say sandpaper and I'm like, myself in my seat.
This is true.
All right, Tina, you're up.
All right, here you go. Why do all superheroes wear their underpants on the outside of their super suit?
I'm old school. I know the original superheroes, Superman, Batman, and so forth, but there are so many of them now. I can't keep track of them. And I think we need their underpants on the outside so that we know who's who, Got to have their logo or something on it. Otherwise, I can't keep track of all these new superheroes.
There you go. Wow, it was Superman. Had a giant S right there.
Like Underoos. Remember Underoos?
Yes, my brother had those.
I still call them that to JJ. Go get your Underoos, buddy.
They still make them? That's so awesome.
I want to say hello to Thomas, aka Gorgeous T. Thanks for joining us. And let's just move right into the questions. So Tina, take it away.
Oh boy. All right. I'll take it. All right. You had the unique experience of spending time on the set of Ghostbusters during your youth, which is super cool. Looking back, what are some of your most vivid memories from that time, and how has that experience shaped your perspective on filmmaking and storytelling?
Oh my goodness. How much time do we have? Let me try to compress it.
Just tell us all the things.
Yeah, I know. I'm just going to hit the main points. So as some of you know, my grandfather and both my grandfather and my father actually worked on Ghostbusters. My grandfather was a production designer. My father was the art director. And I wish I were a little bit older because I didn't appreciate the amazing experience of growing up during that time. As everybody knows, that was a very magical film. That was lightning in a bottle, and we'll never see another movie like it again in our lives. But what was cool about it for me, it was growing up, as anybody knows, my grandfather loved giant, enormous sets. And, the bigger, the better. And as you probably remember, the end of the film featured a scene where they went to the top of the building and they fought Gozer, right? All of that was basically 1-to-1 scale built on the Warner Brothers lot. And they actually, they had a hard time finding a soundstage big enough to fit that set. But I was lucky enough to wander up onto that set as a kid. And it was just like being there. It was phenomenal. The amount of detail that my grandfather and my father built into that set was just amazing. They had built a whole cyclorama art kind of mural of New York City behind it, and it was just like being there. There were other fun experiences. For example, my dad worked on Fright Night. One time he brought home a fake bone from that set. And I told him, Dad, what are we going to do with this? We have a fake femur. You can't just throw that in the garbage. People will get phone calls. But
That's true.
yeah. So even though it was plastic, I was like, what am I going to do with this? There are lots of fun stories like that. My father and my grandfather, creative geniuses. We like to call my grandfather the Leonardo of Hollywood because of his amazing contributions. And more than anything, what they taught me was to see the true story that people were trying to tell. You can, like my grandfather has a video online where he talks about production design, and he says production design is not just about sets. It's about the overall creative experience that you have when watching a picture or watching a movie, and looking for those details and trying to understand what the filmmaker is trying to convey really taught me a lot growing up amongst those amazing individuals. And I'm very lucky and blessed.
Oh. All right. I want to shift gears just a second. I could talk about that forever, though, let me tell you, as a huge Ghostbusters fan. But I want to know, because I'm hearing through the grapevine that you have an amateur radio license. You want to talk a little bit about that, how it came to be, and what drew you into the world of radio communications?
Yeah, actually, I do. I have a ham radio license. Not many people do these days. It's kind of a lost art. But my dad, when I was little, I sat on my dad's lap and we would get a shortwave radio and we would listen to, radio stations across the world. And I just thought that was so magical, listening to other countries. Today it's passé, right? Today you just push a button and boom, you're there. But back then you actually had to invest and you actually had to try and listen to those faint signals from across the world. And I think we've lost a little something because we don't have many people who love that art anymore. But it's still out there. There are a lot of interesting people who do ham radio. And actually, when I watched the movie Contact, if you've seen that movie, ham radio was a big part of that film. And so when I watched that, my dad and I said, okay, we gotta go get our license and make this official. So it's a fun little hobby. I don't have as much time anymore to spend with it, but it's a fun thing to do. And I encourage people to look into it if they want to maintain that hobby.
That's awesome. Wow, you are a plethora of knowledge. All right, before I send this over to Steph's set of questions, Jen, do we have any new viewers come in?
Yes, we had Christina G. Christina G came in. Hello. And then real quick, I want to put in a little note. Everybody check right now. Look and see that you've hit like on the video right now. Double check. Even if you think you did, double check. Let's get this over 100 likes. We should have more than 100 likes for this great guest that we have today. So double check that. And also, if you're new here, we'd love to have you subscribe so that you could come back. Every Sunday, we have somebody else from our community with a great interview. We'd love to have you join us each week. Okay, that's done. Now let's go to Steph.
Okay, doke. All right, so we've heard there's a fascinating family story about the time spent with Tony Baxter in relation to the creation of Indiana Jones Adventure in California. Can you share that story with our audience and what that experience was like from your family's perspective?
Oh, I'd love to. This is one of my favorite stories. For those who don't know, Tony Baxter, amazing Imagineer. He was behind Imagination at Epcot. He was behind Big Thunder, so many amazing attractions. Well, he's a family friend. He's a friend of my dad. So of course, Indiana Jones Adventure is an amazing experience if you've gone through it. It's one of the best attractions that's been made. He was the guy behind it, and he invited my father and my family to a little sneak peek before the attraction actually opened. And I said, Dad, please, I don't remember how old I was, but I was a teenager. I'm like, Dad, please, I want to go. So yeah, we all piled in the car and went to Anaheim that night, and we met Tony, and he ushered us behind the scenes to the back door, and he says, okay, close your eyes because I'm going to take you through the queue backwards because we have to get to the front. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to actually close my eyes, but it was amazing to see all the detail and so forth. And we got to the front, we got onto the car. This was actually before the press. The press was actually lined up there waiting to take their press tours of the ride. And so we got to sneak on board ahead of time. Thank you, Tony, if he's watching. So what was funny about that is that we went on the ride, and it was a very, very slow kind of small world experience. And what had happened, what I didn't know at the time, was that the hydraulics for the car weren't working. So the ride was actually, while it was going on the track, it was almost like a small world experience going through this amazing environment. And I was honestly kind of heartbroken because I thought, there were months and months looking up to this amazing ride. And although the visuals were amazing, I didn't really get a sense of excitement out of it. And so I was all prepared. I got my diplomatic face on. I said, okay, well, let's tell Tony what an amazing attraction it is and so forth. And we pulled into the bay, and Tony said, no, this was terrible. The hydraulics weren't working, and it's okay because it was an opening day experience. So he said, let's try it again. So we got on the ride again. Same exact thing happens, slow ride through the attraction. Poor Tony at this point, he was like, oh, okay, let's do it a third time. Third time was a charm. And at that point, the hydraulics kicked in. It was a phenomenal experience. Remains to my day one of my favorite attractions. The funniest part is that my mother, who's no longer with us, my mother was on the ride with us, and she said in her cute little Southern drawl, oh, I liked it the first 2 times because it was nice and quiet. So that was the kind of lady my mom was, but that was a really, really fun story. I'm very grateful for Tony for inviting our family to do that, and it remains one of my top attractions of all time. It's phenomenal.
I bet that was a wonderful experience. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm glad they got it right the third time, or you would have very disappointed. All right. So with the news of Muppet Vision 3D closing, many fans are feeling a deep sense of loss. However, you have a truly unique connection to its history, having been on set with Jim Henson during its creation. Can you share your experience from that time and what it was like witnessing Henson's magic firsthand?
Yes, absolutely. Another fun story. My father was the production designer for Muppet Vision 3D, and it coincided with another period in my youth when I was a bored teenager during summer. So I said, Dad, can I come with you to set to watch it being filmed? And he said, yeah. So I joined him every morning. We both drove onto the set, and I just kind of, I hugged the wall of the soundstage, and I just sat in a corner, and I was just in awe. Here and right in front of me were my childhood heroes, Jim Henson and Frank Oz and all these other folks doing their thing. And I'm like, is this real life? Is this crazy? Because, I grew up with these people and the experiences they brought through Sesame Street and Muppets and so forth. So many fun stories about that. But long story short, I was very privileged to be able to sit and watch some of their activities filming that great attraction. I did end up meeting Jim Henson a few times after dailies. He looked down to me and he said, and it was so surreal, Out of his mouth came Kermit's voice because, he was Kermit's voice. But he said, so John, are you going to be a production designer like your dad? And I'm like, no, I'm more of a geek. I had to tell him the truth, but I had such a good experience on that set. And my dad, I'm very blessed that he did such an amazing job on that film. We all are going to miss it. Hopefully it lives on in our memories. Thankfully, it'll be on YouTube forever. And I'm very grateful for all the love and affection that fans have for that film.
Yeah, that was really awesome. I enjoyed that so much. I'm very sad because that was something I grew up with every Sunday night. Like, I feel like it was, we watched the Muppet Show. And so
Yeah,
Uh,
they as everybody knows, that was Jim Henson's last film, and he left on a high note. It was an amazing experience.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. I'm glad we still have it on film, that we can go back and watch it and still appreciate it. And I hope younger generations will, get a chance to see that too and appreciate it. So.
Another fun, really quick story about that is many people may not know, but Jim Henson's son played Sweetums in the movie, the big brown guy.
Oh no, I
And
didn't know
there's a
that.
scene in there where he has a paddle, like a ping pong paddle that he aims at the camera. Just one of Fozzie's 3D gags, right? But poor guy, imagine being inside one of those costumes and trying to aim a ping pong ball at the 3D lens of the camera. Poor guy, he just did take after take after take of that scene. And they had to open up his costume every 15 minutes and air him out, put blow dryers in there, make sure. So for a little, just keep in mind, for a little 4-second throwaway gag, the poor guy suffered a whole day. But that was a fun story. And it's really indicative of all of the, not agonizing times, but all of the hard work that these amazing creative people put into these things so that we can enjoy them for a few seconds. It's great.
Yes, thanks for those folks. I appreciate it. All right, I'm going to throw the ball back to Tina.
All right, here we go. So, John, I know you have a deep connection to Epcot's history, and I've heard that you built quite an incredible Epcot collection. Can you share a bit about this collection and what makes it special to you?
So Epcot, as many people love Epcot, obviously it's very, very special in my life because my father was one of the core people who was there designing Epcot from the very beginning. He worked with Marty Sklar, he worked with John Hench to try to come up with something that could encapsulate Walt's vision. Because as everybody knows, Walt had this amazing vision for Epcot being a city, for an experimental city that he could try new things in. Unfortunately, Walt passed way too early. And a bunch of folks like Marty and John and other folks were involved in trying to bring his vision and land it in some form. Now, obviously, today's Epcot is quite different from the vision that Walt had in his head. But for me, Epcot is an amazing encapsulation of some really heady ideas that you don't hear much anymore. Not many people know, but Ray Bradbury was very instrumental in the creation of Epcot. You can actually go online and find a script that he wrote for Spaceship Earth, and it's just as good as any of the other works he's worked on. I could talk for hours about this, but I'll bring it home by saying Epcot today, arguably, you could probably argue it's kind of veered away from its original purpose, and it's veered even more away from Walt's original idea. But there are still the bones of Epcot is still there, and those are very, very important bones. Those are amazing ideas that we're trying to keep alive and try to keep for future generations so that they know what some of these amazing creative individuals have brought home to us. So yes, I like to acquire as much of retro Epcot history as I can, whether it's an original opening day ticket or some kind of a memorabilia about Horizons or World of Motion or even energy. We like to collect those things. So yeah, it means a lot to our family, and I'm really, really grateful whenever I talk to somebody who says, "Oh, I miss the old Epcot." I'm like, I know, but it's still there, thankfully, and there's still this original idea is still there for us all to enjoy.
Yeah, definitely. So speaking of Epcot and historically significant items, I understand there's a certain ball from your childhood that you played with, one that in hindsight maybe should have stayed on the shelf. You want to
Yeah. So I'm an only child, and if you're an only child or if you have an only child, you realize that we kind of make do with what we have when it comes to playtime, right? We whether it's a piece of wood or a piece of something, we try to make our own games. Well, when I was little, I found this round wooden ball in the garage. And I said, "Oh, this will be fun." I'm rolling it down the hall and hitting it with a stick and doing all kinds of things that little kids do. I didn't realize until later that this was the actual wooden ball used in the model for Epcot. for Spaceship Earth. So this was, I didn't realize at the time, but it was actually covered with things to resemble Spaceship Earth. But this was the actual wooden ball. It was kind of for Disney fans, this is a holy relic, right? So I didn't realize at the time when I was a kid, I was just playing with this thing. But there are all kinds of fun experiences like that I grew up with. I know we're short on time, but Spaceship Earth is really the heart of Epcot. It means a whole heck of a lot to what the whole theme park is about. And having been part of its creation, albeit indirectly, it means a whole lot to me. And I'm very grateful for all the love that people have for that attraction.
100%. Spaceship Earth is my favorite Disney icon, though I get teased for this a lot. I've never actually been on it.
Wow.
So yeah,
next time we're there, you're going on it.
I don't know if I could handle it. I don't know if I could.
Oh, you can?
Backwards and the eyes, the vertigo with my eyesight. I don't know, but I will say everything that you just said, 100% true. Yeah. See, I'm getting yelled at in the chat because they know. Loves Spaceship Earth. All right, so I do want to pass this over to Jen because she's got some things to talk about.
I do, but I have one very quick follow-up question. What happened to the ball?
Oh gosh, I think my dad still has it somewhere.
But it didn't
Okay,
get
so you
ruined.
still have it
It's still around.
somewhere.
As far as
Okay,
I know.
okay. I was just curious, like.
Yeah, I'll put on my Indiana Jones hat. That belongs in a museum. Don't let more kids play with it.
That's what I was thinking. Like that is a piece of history. Like it can't be like in a garbage can in the garage. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. Okay. All right. This is the part of the show where we ask our guests to highlight some of the channels that they love. And this week we're going to highlight Spaceship Ears, John's 3 channels that he likes to watch. So the first one we're going to talk about is T3PO. The next one is Up the Waterfall. And the third one is Retro WDW. So, John, why don't you tell us what it is about Retro WDW that you love?
Oh, I love all 3 of these channels and many more. I had to boil them down to 3, but I got to know the Retro DWW guys 2 years ago when they kicked off Retro Magic. These are folks dedicated to preserving the history of all things Disney and especially the theme parks. They kick off an event called Retro Magic, which they invited my father to speak at. So I'm a little bit biased, but they put on some amazing things, and you could watch their channel for all kinds of retro videos. Remember the old movie cameras that people used to bring into the parks? They have all sorts of great little clips from that time. So they're well worth supporting.
That is awesome. That sounds great. What about Up the Waterfall?
Yeah, Up the Waterfall is hosted by Scott and Zana, 2 friends I've gotten to know. And what I love about them is that this, again, more in the line of Disney history. They focus on the stories behind the history. A lot of people just recite facts, but they, through personal knowledge and through some amazing historical insight, they're able to tell some amazing stories, especially about the early days of Epcot. So I strongly recommend them if you're interested in this field.
That is, that sounds great. These are new channels I've never heard of. So thank you very much. Let's go to the last one, which is T3PO.
Yeah, I've gotten to know these guys pretty recently. What I like about this channel is that they have weekly broadcasts where they do really deep dives into what's going on in the industry and what's going on in Disney. I'll be honest, some of them are no strangers to providing hot takes, but their hot takes I tend to agree with. So I love it. I love watching what they have to say, and they know their stuff. They have a lot of insight into what goes on in the industry. So I recommend them as well.
That's awesome. And Mods, if you can go ahead and make sure you're dropping the links for those 3 channels in the chat, that would be great. And also let's get the links for John that we've been dropping for all of John's social medias. We're going to wrap up this show here now. Let's send it over to Tina for our show recap.
All right, let's talk about some highlights from tonight. So in tonight's interview, we had the privilege of talking about an incredible father whose love for Disney and all things entertainment runs deep. His family's historical ties to Disney and the entertainment industry are truly over the top, making for a fascinating and heartfelt evening chat. John shared incredible firsthand accounts of pivotal moments in Disney history that he was able to witness himself. Plus, we gained insight into his unique perspective on Disney parks from around the globe, making for a truly unforgettable conversation. John spoke in depth about his passion and deep respect for his father, grandfather, and many key figures in Disney history, including legends like Tony Baxter and Jim Henson. His stories and insights truly highlighted the lasting impact these visionaries have had on both his life and the Disney legacy. Lastly, it was a fantastic night to be able to hear about John's passion for collecting Epcot memorabilia and his enthusiasm for sharing that love with others. Plus, his recommendation to try the Dole Whip with the Parrot Bay Coconut Rum, which we all want to try now, at the Pineapple Lanai at Disney's Polynesian Resort is definitely one that we will not forget. I encourage everyone watching the replay or the live to the replay to leave a comment on this video with your thoughts on the interview. Seth, you're next.
Oh, right. So, guess what? We're going to have another show next week. Same place, same time. All right. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about who's coming up. All right. So, our next guest is a newer creator in the community, bringing fresh perspectives and exciting content to the scene. Her videos are all about Disney parks, resorts, and everything Disney World, capturing the magic and excitement of the most magical place on earth in a way that fans love. Her content covers everything from hard copy information and festival highlights to special events like holiday parties, park ambience, shopping, snacks, and more. All capturing the full Walt Disney World experience. Additionally, our guest is a former Disney feature animation artist and will be sharing some of her incredible experiences working behind the scenes in the world of Disney animation. Join us next week, 6 p.m. here on the Eastern Coast or 3 p.m. Pacific time, as we chat with our guest, Kelly, from Park Hop Magic. We'll be diving into her love for the Disney parks, her amazing content, and her experiences as a former Disney feature animation artist. You won't want to miss this. So there you go.
I'm looking forward to that. Another new creator in the community, somebody we don't know too well that we're going to get to learn a lot about. So that's going to be really exciting. Thanks, Steph, for that information about who our guest is going to be. Park Hop Magic. Looking forward to it. Want to take one last second to welcome in the last of our guests. Hello to Amigo One, Robert Sprite, producer Preston, Corby Sinclair, and Alex Miller. I think I got you all now. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Again, thank you to all of our Ninja Watchers who's out there watching. All of the links are in the chat, so make sure you guys are hitting those up. Make sure you hit the like button on tonight's show. I want to thank John for being here. Thank you very much. If you guys want to take a look at John's social media, he has Facebook. And if the mods can drop these links one more time, that'd be great. You can catch John on Facebook. John is also on Instagram, John D. DeCure. And we're going to do something a little special right now. I'm going to flip over to this slide. And John, why don't you give us a real quick description of what this is all about?
Oh, yeah. So my father, God bless him, he has a very, very fledgling YouTube channel. He's just experimenting. God bless him. He's going to be 84 this year. Not many people can do that at 84. But one of the amazing videos he has on his channel is a recording that someone made at the Academy of Motion Arts and Pictures and Sciences. The Motion Picture Academy, long story short. And my grandfather gave about an hour-long discussion about what production design really is. So if you're curious about the art and what made his insight to that industry so impactful, I really recommend watching it. It's a great, great lecture.
And to follow that up, we want to remind everyone that John's dad, John, did sit down with Pete and myself on one of our Disney Dialogues interviews. Here's a screenshot from that. And then mods, if you can drop the link to that in the chat. That's a really good one. If you missed that show or if you want to go back and watch it, his storytelling is just as good as John that we have here. We know where you got your storytelling from, John, that's for sure. Lots of good memories there. And I suggest everyone go back and take a look at that. I want to remind everyone to follow Triple C Instagram, because then you'll know who our guests are going to be. You'll have reminders on that. I think that's all I got for now. So let's finish up with our thought of the night. So let's go to you, John, first as our guest and give us your final thought.
Well, first and foremost, thanks for having me on. You guys and Pete especially have been so nice to me and my father and our family. I'm very, very grateful for what you do for this community. Every nice thought and everything you do is heartfelt, and it's multiplied multiple times amongst the community. Despite the amazing childhood I've had and all the blessings that I've had in my life, at the end of the day, I'm a Disney geek. I'm just as much of a fan of this as anybody else in chat. So I feel very honored and special to be part of this community. I love sharing stories with others, and I'm just grateful for all the work that everybody on screen and everybody off screen does for this community. So thank you.
Awesome. Tina, how about you? Final thought of the night.
It's always amazing to come in here and sit in the seat and listen to so many amazing things about our guests each week. John's no different. So, John, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence and sharing a little bit, because I say a little bit because I know there could be so much more that you could share with us. And we are just very appreciative for what you did share tonight. And I'm going to sign you guys off from me with the same thing that I say all the time is be kind to everyone, because you don't know who's going through a battle that you know nothing about.
Very good. Thank you, Tina. Steph?
So thank you so much, John, for gracing us with your presence tonight. We had a fabulous time listening to your stories. I can't tell you how many folks I've read in the chat who say this has just been a wonderful interview. And thank you so much, John, for being here. Everybody's enjoyed the story. And I was thinking we really need to have you on again so we can hear the other stuff, that we didn't get. We actually could probably have you on like 5 to 10 more times to get all the stuff. But,
We'll never have enough stories.
Right. But that's awesome that you have so much more that you could share. And I think it's just what a great life. So that's awesome. I would enjoy hearing more. So
thank you, Steph.
Yeah, you guys have a great week.
Awesome. Thanks, Steph. And I just want to finish up by saying, John, you've become such an important fixture in this Disney YouTube community. You've become a great friend. Your stories are always new and exciting and things we would never just hear about unless they came from somebody who was on the inside like you were. So I know I'm very appreciative of that, to hear all of those things about behind the scenes that went on in the creation of a lot of our favorite things. So thank you for sharing all of your family stories with us. Thank you for being such a good friend. We love you. Yes, we need to have you on again. We need to hear more stories. I think they're never ending. They'll never be all done. There'll always be another story to tell. So I just want to say thank you for sharing this with us. And we look forward to seeing you on a future stream. So I hope you're up for that.
That's so kind of you. And these stories wouldn't land unless they had the glue of the community there as a net to catch them. And what you guys do is just as important as what the storytellers tell. So thank you for what you do as well.
Awesome. Thank you. And real quick, I want to say hello to Amy, AJC Magic. And I saw It's Me, David T came in, and Sebastian the Crab. And just want to say thank you for everyone for showing up tonight. Roger Shue, thank you. Right now, what we're going to do, you probably got a notification already. Pete has gone live. He is in the Magic Kingdom. He's going to be there all evening. He's going to do the Happily Ever After fireworks. So directly from this stream, it's going to drop you right into his stream. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to find his stream and click on it. It's going to take you right there. So I hope everyone goes over there, gives that stream a like, says hello to Pete. Hello, Detroit Diz. Thanks for coming in. Tell him what a great show you thought this was, and tell him how great Molly, Steph, and Tina did. He'll love to hear that.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So on that note, we're going to sign off for tonight, saying thank you, everyone. Hope to see you all next week. Take care, and we'll see you soon.
You got a smile that makes the sun